of Bhagavad Gita, we were discussing chapter 3rd, text 9, 3.9. Okay, so in this third chapter, Karma Yoga, shloka number 3 to 8, it is discussed the Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, so work with both knowledge and detachment. So Nishkam Karma Yoga, that means it is combining the karma and jnana. Okay, so Niskam Karma Yoga allows a person or Jivatma to be active but in a detached way. That the word says Niskama. There is no expectation of a result like that. Okay, that means in a detached manner. Okay, so that the person is protected from material entanglement. So, ninth shloka is when a person's knowledge increases to include knowledge of Vishnu. Okay, so like still higher thing is, like first thing is not being attached to the result of the work, but still higher thing is that knowledge is there, and in that knowledge of Krishna, Vishnu is also included. Okay, and the detached activities one then performs are offered to him with devotion. That is the next stage. You are not detached, that is one stage. First thing is you are doing your work and you are attached to the result of the work. Next stage, you are doing activities but in a detached manner. And still higher thing is that you are offering, or you are like dedicating, offering your work to Krishna. Okay, so those activities are done as devotion to Krishna. Okay, detached activities one then performs are offered to him with devotion. To him means to Krishna. So Nishkam Karma Yoga is meant to lead to bhakti. So Nishkam Karma Yoga will take one person towards bhakti. So then there can be a question that what if a person is overly attached to material life and cannot perform Niskam Karma Yoga? Too much attached. So to explain this, Krishna now describes the yoga ladder. Okay, so this section which is very important, this is called yoga ladder. Okay, different steps of in the process of yoga. This is a very important section. It will take some time to explain, maybe 2 class or like that, but we will go slowly and we will try to understand properly. So when a person is overly attached, too much attached for material life, and for him like Niskam Karma Yoga is becoming very difficult. So Krishna now will explain this. So he will start with the lowest step and gradually he will take us to the highest one. So now this 10th shloka to 16th shloka, all the 7 shloka describe the progressive stages of the yoga ladder from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. In yoga, different steps are there. Steps means or ladder means you can understand okay, like Karma Kanda is here, Gyan Yoga here, Karma Yoga here, and like that. In Karma Yoga, different section is. I will share one photo so you will understand very clearly. Okay, so this thing will come in detail, but that's what, where there are many type of yoga. So which yoga is where? Okay, in the yoga ladder. Okay, so that will be explained, like which yoga can take you to what point in the perfection. From there, like you are performing yoga, particular yoga A, so that will take you to this, like from here to here. And now you want to go from here to next step in perfection, so you need to take another process of yoga, like that. So this is a step by progress towards perfection. And there will be something direct, like when you go in steps, So you go first floor, second floor, third floor, like that. It will take a lot of time and energy and effort. But there is a lift. Directly it takes you to the topmost level. So that is the yoga ladder. Okay. Further, every jiva in the material world attempts to position himself as enjoyer or controller. That's the point. Grossly or subtly, but everybody somehow or other they are trying to be enjoyer and controller in this material world. If not, then they will not come to material world. So this is very true. Okay. So regardless of the body in which the soul is existing or living, what kind of body it is, regardless of that, everybody is having this mentality that everybody want to become enjoyer or controller in this material world. So the striving of ignorant animals for pleasure, all the animals you see, they want to eat and have sex and all those things. So that striving of ignorant animals for pleasure according to their limited capacity is the same as that of spiritually undeveloped humans. Which humans? Spiritually undeveloped humans, who in their attempt to taste sensual pleasure act in ignorance. Animals also act in ignorance and they want to satisfy their senses. And person who is not spiritually advanced, who is not on a spiritual platform, they also act in ignorance. Why? So how they act in ignorance? Because they are always trying to satisfy their senses. Yes? Okay. So in the Vedas, in our scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and different Vedas and their supplements contain lakhs of verses, okay, about these. And many people discuss about these things. So many places if you go, lot of discussion is going on. Gyan Kanda, Karma Kanda, Niskam Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So many things are there confusing. Okay, lakhs of verses are there, and many verses, maximum verses are about fruitive activities, and only a small percentage of the shlokas discuss about Gyan Kanda. Maximum is all about, in the Vedas, maximum thing is about what? Fruitive activities, and very little is about Gyan Kanda, and this Gyan Kanda leads the living entity. So this one, okay, so maximum, like in whole Vedas, like say 90% is about fruit activities and very less is about Gyan Kanda. So this thing leads the jiva toward transcendental knowledge and ultimately to an understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Gyan Kanda. Okay, the Vedic culture provides a system by which the materially attached person can satisfy his material desires yet gradually become purified. Nobody is rejected here. Everybody, on whatever level he may be, someone is grossly engaged in sense gratification too much, for him also there is some solution is given. So gradually, so Vedic culture system gives solution for everyone. Wherever, in whatever position you are, there is a way to come to Krishna from there. Okay, so like GPS, wherever you are, once you try to connect, from there, from your location, it will show you the map, the destiny, the road. Sometimes GPS can get fail in some locations, but Krishna's network is never fail. Everywhere it is there, and wherever, in whatever situation you are, Krishna will show how to come to us. Okay, so this thing, majority of section is about fruitive activities, only small section is about Gyan Kanda, which leads the living entity to a transcendental knowledge and ultimately to an understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So the Vedic culture provides a system by which the materially attached person can satisfy his material desires, yet gradually become purified. So therefore, such a high percentage of Vedic information centers on Karma Kanda, the performance of sacrifices to reach higher planets and to satisfy superior beings, the demigods. Why maximum things are explained about Karma Kanda? Because most of the people want to satisfy themselves, their senses, they want to enjoy, control. So for them, this kind of Karma Kanda is given, that you go do this yajna, that sacrifice, so that you can go to heavenly planet, enjoy like that and all. In that way, they are gradually progressing. And that's a step-by-step process. To become situated under the protection of such a system, one must agree to regulate his enjoyment by the descending authority of Vedic formulas. One following that system does not act simply as he desires. You cannot act simply whatever you desire. So his mood of subservience to God's order in the form of the Vedas, he follows what Vedas are saying. So his mood of subservience to God's order in the form of the Vedas, even though his purpose is to attain sense pleasure. This is very tricky thing. He is following the instructions of God in the form of Vedas, fruitive activities, okay. But why he is doing? Even though his purpose is to attain sense pleasure. In order to, I will go to Swarga and I will enjoy like this. So for what I need to do? So Vedas says you do this sacrifice. Okay. So he is doing that. Then he is going there enjoying. So actually he did it for his sense gratification, but even whatever it is, he followed Vedic instruction. Na? So he will get some purification. For he is following Krishna's system. That's the point here, very important. He is following Krishna's system. System is made by Krishna, he is following. So because he followed the instruction of Krishna, so he is purified. He is one step progressed. Okay. That's the point. System he is following. Vedic system, because it is made by Krishna. Okay. That's why, for example, like marriage, you can go and do marriage in court marriage. So you can do court marriage and you can live together. Okay. So no issue. You can live as husband-wife because you did court marriage already. You can have even kids. No government will have, no police will have any objection. And now presently, many people have their live-in relationship and all those things. So government allowing that also. So no issue. Okay. But they are not following the system of Krishna. So they are sinful. In the eye of government constitution, they are not sinful. But in the eye of Vedic scriptures, in the eye of Krishna, they are sinful because they are not following Krishna's system. In the Krishna system, do the 7 rounds and all those, there are a lot of process. So that is called Vivaha Sanskara. So after doing that Vivaha Samskara in this Kanya Dan, and so many processes are there. Main process is Kanya Dan. So then you are authorized, as Vedic rules and regulations, you are husband and wife as per Vedic system. So then you have followed the system of Krishna, so you are one step progressed, purified, one more degree. Okay, and then it is not sin also. So without following Vedic culture, like without, okay, in our case, in our example of marriage, without getting married in a Vedic way, if you start living like that, even though you are court marriage or like that, whatever, still it is sinful. Okay, so that's what we have to understand, the system of Krishna. Because many people will ask, why this? Okay, this rule is there, why it is this rule, why I have to follow? This is Vedic rule. So if you follow, you will be purified. Okay, there is a point here. Otherwise they'll say, okay, why I have to take bath after this, why I have to do this, what is the problem? No problem. No, you just follow, because these are Vedic rules and regulations. So when you will follow, you will get purified. And what is our goal? Getting purified and going back home, back to Godhead. Yes? So like that. Okay. So, by following the Vedic system of sacrifice, one also implicitly accepts the principle that he is not independent, rather his enjoyment depends upon the satisfaction of higher authorities. Second point, that when you follow the Vedic authorities, that means you are agreeing that you are not independently want to enjoy. You are accepting some authorities, and those authorities are in Krishna's, like Krishna appointed them. So in that way, you are furthermore progressing. So Srila Prabhupada confirms this in his purport in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.7.32. Sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature for satisfaction of the demigods are a sort of inducement to the sacrificers to realize the existence of higher authorities. So when you follow these kind of Vedic rules and regulation, you are accepting that yes, there is a higher authority. At least you may not know the name, but you are at least accepting, okay, कोई भगवान है, तो हमें there is some God, so we have to follow his instructions. Okay, so at least you are accepting this much, so you are progressing. Okay, so these karmakandis people do like that. Okay, some authorities that do this yajna for Indra, do this yajna for Surya, for Chandra, for Ganpati, Durga. They will keep doing some yajna, some process, some puja, some havan, because they accept at least one thing, that okay, there is someone superior than me. So in that way they are better, compared to the person who don't accept anything at all. So gradually, by following the Vedic system, one may accept an eternal transcendental objective to replace his temporary fruitive goals. So when he will follow these Vedic rules of fruitive activities, karma kanda, but gradually what will happen? He will get purified and purified and purified, and his objectives, his goal will become more and more transcendental. Okay, presently his goals are fruitive. Okay, if I do this puja to Indra, I will get this thing. Okay, so chalo, we will do this puja. So that is fruitive goal. Okay, but still he will be purified because he is following the system of Krishna. So gradually he will change his goal from fruitive goal to the transcendental goal. So with the acceptance, one abandons the designation of karmakandi and becomes a karma yogi. So in this way, a person becomes from karmakandi to karma yogi. Okay. So by properly performing his appropriate duties, the karma yogi will gradually move from sakam karma yoga to niskam karma yoga. You understand? So from karma kandi, first thing is like completely gone. No, nothing he don't know. But next step is karma kandi. He is doing something. First one is sinful person. He is just doing sinful activity, no fear of anyone. Next step is karma kandi. He knows that Indra is there, Chandra is there, Durga, so many. So out of those fear or understanding the authority, he will do some karma kanda process and follow the Vedic system. But by doing this, gradually he will come to the level of karma yoga. And so in that is, first he will come to sakam karma yoga, and then when he will perform his duty properly, he will come from sakam karma yoga to niskam karma yoga. Sakam karma yoga means attached to the work. Niskam karma yoga means detached. So sakam is the here and niskam is one step higher. Okay, so then he detached work. This niskam karma yoga means detached work on the platform of jnana, knowledge. He can then follow the yoga ladder upward toward liberation, and then liberation. Then next is from niskam karma yoga to liberation. Then from liberation to Paramatma realization, and then finally devotional service to Krishna. You see this much long process. Okay, for devotional service to Krishna, this much long process is there. So it also means to reach that level of devotional service, you have to go through these levels. Okay, now we will understand the glories of Srila Prabhupada, who directly, out of his mercy, causeless mercy, he directly engaged us in direct devotional service of Krishna. No need to go this long ladder. He gave us direct lift. That is the glory of Srila Prabhupada. So he can then follow the yoga ladder upward toward liberation, Paramatma realization, and finally devotional service to Krishna. His association and desires will dictate how far he actually climbs on his step-by-step ascension of the yoga ladder. How he will understand? By association and his desires. He'll understand where I have reached, how my desires are and how my association is. I'll understand where I reach. The Bhagavad Gita describes this gradual ascension in chapter 3 through 6, this yoga ladder. So then further step-by-step process. So Krishna explains what takes place when, either from the beginning of one's practice or any rung of the ladder, these different steps of the ladder, one attains the association of a devotee and comes to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and oneself as Krishna's servant. Different steps are there, so it will be explained properly. Prabhupada ji, Srila Prabhupada also describes this in relationship to Maharaj Parikshit's meeting with Sukadeva Goswami in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.3 and 4. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying in the purport of this shloka that the three activities of religion, economic development and sense gratification, dharma, artha, kama, are generally attractive for conditioned souls struggling for existence in the material world. So I am just reading this purport. If you want to read, you can open Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, text number 3 and 4. Prabhupada is saying that this dharma, artha, kama are generally attractive for conditioned soul who are struggling for existence in this material world. Okay, such regulated activities prescribed in the Vedas are called the karma kandiya, a conception of life. And householders are generally recommended to follow the rules just to enjoy material prosperity both in this life and in the next life. Most people are attracted by such activities, karma kanda activities. Many people will find they are attracted by this only. You tell them about pure devotion, they will not accept. But you tell them, like somebody comes to you for some problem, that okay Prabhuji, I have this problem, like somebody told me that they were not having any children, so they came, Prabhuji, these many years my son and my daughter-in-law not having any children, so you tell some process. So I said, see, we have only one process, chant Hare Krishna and pray to Krishna. If it pleases Krishna, he will give you babies, no problem. Okay, you have so many examples of devotee who perform devotional service nicely. Krishna bless them nicely. Krishna knows, for a devotee, Krishna knows when to give what, how much, everything. So don't worry, if Krishna wants, he will give you. But that kind of devotional solution, they did not like it. They wanted they wanted that Prabhuji will tell, okay, you do this havan or this yajna or this puja, this bali, this much money you do, give donation, this so many things, complicated thing. So they didn't liked it. Okay. So this is the real thing I am telling you. So they didn't like it. And so many days over, I told them to read Bhagavatam, Mother Aditi's section. She did this Payovrata, and I told you, read and pray to Krishna. Chant more. Your son and daughter-in-law also should chant and pray if you want, like that. They didn't like much. And then nothing happened. And they were going, many other people, many other Babajis and all. They did many yajna and all, so many things they told, other people told, and they did also. Finally nothing happened. Then next time when I met them, almost like after 8 months or 10 months like that, I met them again. So again same problem. I said, see, I told you, that's what I know. I don't know. I will tell you something. But what is the point of cheating others? Because I don't know any other process. I know only bhakti process. So bhakti process means you do with your full heart. Krishna will see whether you need this or not, and he will give you accordingly, and be happy whatever Krishna gives. So no problem. So then they said okay. Then some other devotee also suggested them. Somehow they were inspired by many other devotees also. So they brought Gaur Nitai, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani, Sudarshan in their home. And they brought in the home, and they called me for this thing, like first day, some Abhishekam and all, so that deities can be like kind of installment, something. So they called me, and we went there, we did some small ceremony and the Abhishekam and all nicely. And that day onwards, they started worshipping Gaur Nitai and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Mai, Sudarshan. Okay. And that day again I told them whole process. They were asking same thing, same problem. I told them same. Now you have Gaur Nitai, you have Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani, Sudarshan. You pray to them nicely, serve them. And they were doing nicely. And the day they started worshipping Gaur Nitai in their home and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani, Sudarshan in their home, within 1 year they got twin baby. Okay, one boy and one girl, twins. Okay, so Krishna knows that. Okay, so that's the point here. People don't like this devotional service solution. They want something, they are interested in that karma kanda only. Okay, so many people, they like that karma kanda conception of life. And that's why for householders generally these things are recommended to follow the rules just to enjoy material prosperity both in this life and in the next. Most people are attracted by such activities. Prabhupada is saying, as a great emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit had to observe such regulations of the Vedic Karma Kanda section, but by his slight association with Sukdev Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead Vasudeva, for whom he had a natural love since his birth, is everything, and thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic Karma Kanda activities. Okay, so even though Parikshit Maharaj was engaged in this Vedic Karma Kanda, but why? Because he is a king, so he has to show by his example. Okay, so he was just doing that. Okay, he was engaged like that. He was not having like only karma kanda will perfect me. No, he was doing so that other general, because king, everybody, all the citizens will see king. So everybody may not be on that pure devotional level. So for them karma kanda is required. So if king only not doing, who will do? So king has to act like that. So the leaders has to act many different ways so that all levels of followers can progress. So a follower also should be very alert. What is for me? Like a person is already in doing devotional service, then he is saying, oh, my king is doing karma kanda, so I should stop devotional service and do karma. No, it's not like that. Person should be very smart, very active, intelligent. What is a leader is doing anything, so which one I have to follow? Not all the one. Something he may be doing to show some particular followers, for them. Something he may be doing for others. So what is for you, that you take. Okay. So this, so Parikshit Maharaj was not engaged, but he not attached to fruitive karma kanda, but he was still doing just to show the general population. So as soon as he met with Srila Shukdev Goswami, immediately his pure devotion came up and he could understand everything. Okay, and he just left all the karma kanda vidhi. So this perfectional stage is attained by a jnani after many, many births. So what is that perfect stage? That Vasudev Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That stage Parikshit Maharaj immediately understood. just by the association of Srila Shukdev Goswami. Otherwise, for other yogis, it will take many birth. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Many birth the Gyanis will take, and then only they will understand what? That Vasudev Sarvamiti Mahatma Sudurlabha. The Vasudev is everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is Vasudev, who is everything. So the Gyanis or the empiric philosophers endeavoring for liberation are thousands of times better than the fruitive workers, and out of hundreds of thousands of such Gyanis, one is liberated factually. Okay, and one out of many Gyanis, one can liberate, and out of hundreds of thousands of such liberated persons, liberation means going into that Brahman, and out of those thousands of such liberated person, even one is rarely found who can firmly fix his mind unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Very rare. Manushyanam sahasrisu kashyati suddhaye. Very rare. So as soon as a person accepts his position as a servant of Krishna, though he may be practicing either Sakam Karma Yoga or Niskam Karma Yoga, he is no longer on the same step-by-step path as other practitioners. So a person who is at the Niskam Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, whatever stage in the yoga ladder, but as soon as he understands that Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna and I am his eternal servant, immediately he is on the pure devotional path. Okay? He is no longer on those steps. Although he may not be fully realized and may still have material attachments, nevertheless, he is more fortunate because he has acknowledged the ultimate goal and will, by steady and appropriate practice, gradually advance in a way that appears parallel to other practitioners, but in fact it is not. Okay? Very important thing. So a person may not be fully realized, but still because he accepted Krishna as his master and himself as servant of Krishna, he has acknowledged that and he understood what is his real goal and what is his real activity. Just by understanding this, he is fortunate. And if he practice properly with a consistency, Savai Punsam Paro Dharma, Eta Bhakti Adoksha, Ahetukiya Pratihata, Ye Atma Suprasiddhiti, Ahetukiya Naprita, without any disturbance, without any discontinuation, continuously if we practice and with a good intention, then he will advance himself to the perfect stage. And this process is, this direct process of bhakti is, actually it is, bhakti process is direct process. Okay, so gradually he will advance in a way that appears parallel to other practitioner, but it, in fact it is not. Okay, so it is not a parallel process. Okay, so a devotee who practices Sakam Karma Yoga, for example, will gradually have his material attachments loosened by his performance of appropriate practices. So this is also true of the non-devotee Sakam Karma Yogi. The devotee Sakam Karma Yogi, however, is far superior because he has already begun to aspire for the highest goal. So Sakam Karma Yogi is non-devotee and devotee also, because devotee Sakam Karma Yogi is higher because he has understood the highest goal. The non-devotee Sakam Karma Yogi is on the transcendental path but may never reach an understanding of the highest goal. Therefore, he may never reach the highest rank of the yoga ladder because he is not devotee of Krishna. He can never reach to the highest level. Okay, so that is the point here. That he and devotee Sakam Karma Yogi, devotee Sakam Karma Yogi will progress and he will reach the highest step, highest position in the yoga ladder. So further, additionally, when one proceeds in a step-by-step fashion, his advancement is limited by his own capabilities. In this step-by-step process, his capabilities also, he will progress according to as per the capability, but one who sets Krishna's service as his goal attains the mercy of Krishna and the Vaishnavas. See, this step by step, if you want to go to the next floor, then you have to put your own energy. But if you get the direct process of the lift, you don't have to, you just have to accept the lift and you're lifted. This is called lift. So this is step by step process, like first karma kanda, then niskam karma yoga, sakam karma yoga, gyan yoga, whatever. This is, in this success is depending upon the capabilities of the practitioner. But in the direct devotional service, the success is practitioner's effort is needed, that is fine, but there is one more factor. What is that? Mercy of Krishna and other Vaishnavas. Krishna is also pulling you, other Vaishnavas are also pulling you. That the great thing is there. So Krishna's mercy and other Vaishnavas' mercy act as his supports throughout his spiritual journey. Very nice. The non-devotee faces these two faces these two difficulties. What is that? He may never understand that the highest rung of the yoga ladder is to attain Krishna's service. First problem with the non-devotee is that he don't know only that what is the highest level. Highest level is Krishna's lotus feet. That he don't know only. And he is limited by his own detachment, purity and power to advance. His limitations are there. So he does not gain the assistance of Krishna's descending mercy. So that mercy which is coming down from Krishna, that he will not get. Who? A non-devotee. So actually, okay, so that's the point here. And okay, so this much okay, so here we stop today, and second part I will explain tomorrow, like how like in further Prabhupada ji is explaining in another purport that only a devotee can become niskam, desireless. Okay, niskam means desireless. So only devotee will become desireless. How this is, that we will explain tomorrow. Okay, already is the time. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So this section of yoga ladder will be explained further tomorrow, and maybe after tomorrow, day after tomorrow also. And I will show you a graph and all those things. It has to be understood very clearly, and then only it is appropriate. Without understanding it, we will be always confused. Because okay, in our position, at least in our position, we came in contact of ISKCON and devotees, so we understand, okay, bhakti is superior, okay, and everybody is saying their process is superior. But how logically it is, how Bhagavad Gita and every scriptures are saying that actually it's not like because it is our process. Sometimes it is because I am doing this, so it is superior. No. So because I am following Bhakti Yoga, so it is superior. That's not the point here. I have to see how actually Bhakti Yoga is superior, and I am fortunate that I got introduced to Bhakti Yoga, because all people, whatever process they are doing, they will say this is superior, but how it is, that they may not know. So how, in that way, we also will say everywhere that Bhakti Yoga is superior, you follow Bhakti Yoga. But sometimes when people will say, okay, how, please prove me this yoga, that yoga, many yogas. So for that kind of discussion, we need to understand this yoga ladder properly. Okay, Hare Krishna. So if you have any question for today, we can take that.